It is not fair for him to be in that weight class. They need to calibrate them scales. We don't know how he makes that weight, all stuff. There is some kind of trickery going on in boxing that nobody wants to talk about.
Who he had beaten once before in a controversial fight where Zoo was bleeding very badly. And before he fought him in a rematch, Zoo had been knocked out. So he beats Zoo, and then he beats, Thurman, who's been very inactive, moved up in weight, and was a huge underdog for those reasons.
There was an idea of becoming undisputed at one time, but as of right now, it's so much politics. Look with the WBO. I was already unified champion, but all these things that don't line up with us, you can't. It's a business as well. So if you're not
think about the sustained beatings that he passes out when he fights, it's the way he gets on top of people and just destroys them.
Man, he over there trying to chop everybody's head off. I'm telling you like this, man. I sit there, man. I just look. I'm like, there's no way. Like you gotta go over there and just like boom, right on the top like that, right?
Incredible performance inside the ring against Thurman.
I'm very happy with my performance, of course. I think it was a great performance. Just a lot of training in this camp. We've been training for him since August of last year. So, it was unfortunate that we couldn't fight in October, but we stay training. We stay getting ready for this former Hall of Famer and show tonight. I take my hat off to Keith. Of course, he's a great former champion. Like I said, a future Hall of Famer for sure. But no, we trained very hard for this fight, and we made sure that we crossed our T's and dotted our I's, so that performance from him wouldn't be nothing crazy for us to handle. I'm very comfortable with the WBC. I've been saying this over and over again. I'll fight these.
But before we go too crazy, remember the guys that he's beaten recently. He beat Costas, he beat, what's his name? Zoo. He beat Zoo, who he had beaten once before in a controversial fight where Zoo was bleeding very badly. And before he fought him in a rematch, Zoo had been knocked out. So he beats Zoo, and then he beats, Thurman, who's been very inactive, moved up in weight, and was a huge underdog for those reasons. So let him beat somebody maybe a little bit of a higher level of thought.
Sebastian Fundora just got called a cheat, and the accusations are absolutely wild. Fans are saying his gloves were tampered with, that he doesn't belong in his weight class, and that the whole sport is rigged in his favor.
To be honest, I already kind of knew that, Fundora, super young right now, super tall, and Keith Thurman, at the end of the day, he was a great fighter, he was a good fighter, but he had a lot of tough fights, but, I thought Keith was going to give him a little bit of trouble, and take him to deep waters and test him a little bit. But, when Fundora threw the right hand the first time, he kind of got him, and, that's when like, oh, man, Fundora, I think it's too much for him. Fundora looked really good. He used his distance, his body shots, and straight punches and everything. I think, in my opinion, he looked really good. And Keith Thurman, he tried. And it was a great stoppage, in my opinion, it's good. When they stopped the fight and I saw his face, I was like, damn,
Look at Keith Thurman's face after that fight. Brutally destroyed. And here's what's crazy: people are saying normal boxing gloves can't cause that kind of damage. They're claiming Fundora's team did something to those gloves.
He throws a rear uppercut from long range. He throws a lead uppercut from mid range. So he's a wildly dangerous puzzle to figure out. And Keith had no answer. And I guess in hindsight, that's probably not that surprising. Keith was not a 54-pounder. But yeah, it was underwhelming, I should say.
I expected a little more from Keith. talks the big game, had that illustrious run at 147, but ultimately, like I said, Father Time over one time. Father Time gets everybody, he just looks slow, the legs weren't there, and also you're fighting a guy, like you said, with the 80-inch reach, and is also knows how to use it now. That's what we're seeing from Fundora, is first couple fights.
But here's where it gets even more suspicious. Fundora reportedly refuses to chase undisputed status because other sanctioning bodies won't protect him like the WBC does. Think about that for a second. Why would a champion avoid unifying titles?
Zoo fight was impressive. The second Zoo fight is where I think now Fundora can settle in now, and this is like what he's going to be. He's going to be a guy that pumps his jab. He's going to be a guy that throws power shots and lands power shots. I mean, his jab was really impressive. He threw 44 jabs per round in this fight. We're talking about a guy that never used to throw the jab. We always wondered, why does he fight on the inside when he has a bajillion-inch reach advantage over his opponents? But he's now settling in, and he started with the jab, and then he didn't even get out of first gear. Like, did you see? I didn't see Fundora exert any extra energy in this fight. He stuck behind his jab and threw short, concise power shots and just kept finding a home for them until the fight was ultimately stopped. I think Fundora is really coming into his own, but we gotta see.
The cheating claims aren't new either. Remember his fight with Tim Tishayo? Same story. Severe head wounds, impaired vision, fans screaming about tampered gloves. It's becoming a pattern with this guy.
It's part of the game. Fundora's a tough person to fight, tall, rangy, tough, and he threw a lot of punches. And Keith had a little long layoff, and no excuse, man. He just a tough fighter. He's just tough to beat, and then Keith had to do what he had to do. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think was there any adjustments you feel that were lacking in there?
Yeah, it was. I think he was doing too much movement. That's what got him kind of tired with his legs, and then he couldn't do the things that he wanted to do. But Fundora was just trying to put the pressure on him. And like I said, it's been a while for Keith fighting, and then fighting somebody at that size. This is difficult. People can say what they want. You could do this, you could do that, but you never fight nobody 6'6", 80-inch.
And get this, one fan called him an unfair cheat code on social media. Said if everyone at 154 ducked him, they wouldn't blame them. That's not normal trash talk. That's fighters genuinely believing something fishy is happening.
Round 5, it was just one-way traffic from here on out. There was almost nothing coming back from Thurman, and his face showed the story of the fight. And in the next round, this pressure kept going. Fundora kept laying it on, pushing Thurman onto the back foot, which caused the referee to step in to stop the fight. He saw too much. Although Thurman was still moving, he wasn't really throwing anything back, and he was copping too much damage. It was common sense why the ref stepped in to stop it. But with this win, Fundora has cemented himself as one of the toughest champs at 154. The Fundora we saw against Mendoza is dead. He now really knows how to use his advantages beautifully. He didn't give Thurman space to breathe. He controlled that distance.
Here's what really happened in that Thurman fight. Chris Algery broke it down perfectly. Fundora threw 44 jabs per round and landed short uppercuts from impossible range. His 80-inch reach made it a complete mismatch from the start.
An early march at that. He sits out the whole of 2017, the whole of 2018, comes back against Josecito Lopez in January. I think it was Josecito Lopez anyway. In January 2019, doesn't look good in that fight, and then loses to Manny Pacquiao. Spends 3 years nearly out of the ring. Fights Mario Barrios, and wins that. And then has another 3 years of inactivity to then fight Brock Javez, a guy who had previously lost at 140 pounds, and I think he'd fought even lighter than that, to now getting this fight with Sebastian Fundora. I have described the last 7 years of Keith Thurman's career like that, because there's been so little to talk about. I don't understand it. I don't get where the inactivity came from. I don't get the reason behind it. I don't get that he takes these 2-year breaks, comes back, has one fight, and then waits another 2 years.
But listen to this part. Winky Wright said Thurman's constant movement actually worked against him. All that footwork drained his energy early, and Fundora just applied relentless pressure until Thurman had nothing left. By round 5, it was completely one-sided. Thurman was absorbing punishment and offering nothing back. His battered face told the whole story before the ref finally stepped in to save him from more damage. Now here's the kicker. Teddy Atlas reminded everyone that this exact same scenario played out before. Fundora's opponents keep ending up with mysterious severe injuries that seem way beyond normal boxing damage. Liam Go called the whole thing ridiculous. He said Thurman wasted his prime years with inactivity, sitting out 2017 and 2018 completely. But even a declined, Thurman shouldn't have taken that kind of punishment from clean boxing. The boxing world is split down the middle. Some see Fundora as a dangerous puzzle who's finally using his freakish physical advantages. Others see something much darker, systematic cheating that officials refuse to investigate. So here's my question for you, drop it in the comments. Do you think Fundora is just that good, or is something shady happening with his fights? Are we watching elite boxing or elaborate deception? If this breakdown opened your eyes to what's really going on, smash that like button and subscribe because this controversy is far from over. And you know what makes this even more suspicious? Look at the timeline of events. Every single opponent who faces Fundora ends up looking like they went through a meat grinder. We're not talking about normal cuts and bruises here. We're talking about damage that has veteran cornermen scratching their heads. Take a look at the medical reports. Multiple fighters have needed extended recovery periods after facing Fundora. That's not coincidence, that's a pattern. And when patterns emerge in boxing, smart money starts asking the right questions. But here's where the plot thickens even more. Sources close to several training camps are whispering about something called the Fundora effect. Sparring partners who have worked with him describe a completely different experience than what we see on fight night. They say his punches, while hard, don't carry that same devastating impact during training sessions. Now, I'm not making accusations here, but let's connect some dots. Remember when Floyd Mayweather's team accused Shane Mosley of loaded gloves back in 2010? The Boxing Commission found irregularities in the hand wrapping process. Sound familiar? History has a funny way of repeating itself in this sport. Here's what's really got insiders talking. Multiple athletic commissions have received formal complaints about Fundora's glove inspections. But here's the kicker. None of these complaints have resulted in thorough investigations. It's like there's a wall of protection around this guy that goes way deeper than just the WBC. And check this out, veteran cutman Jacob Stitch Duran made some interesting comments recently. He said in 30 years of working corners, he's never seen consistent damage patterns like what Fundora produces. When a guy who's patched up thousands of fighters starts raising eyebrows, you better believe something's up. The rabbit hole goes even deeper when you look at the betting lines. Sharp bettors have noticed something strange about Fundora fights. The injury props, bets on whether fighters will suffer cuts or knockdowns, consistently hit at unusual rates. Vegas doesn't miss these patterns, and neither should we.